Hello, everyone. Welcome to my book club number 16. Come on in. We're talking about my book, A Radical Awakening. Hi, guys. Come on in. Let's do book club number 16. So, part of a radical awakening involves really learning to walk away, to say no more. Now, part of awakening involves a brutal letting go. And that's the radical part of it. And that's the most painful part of the awakening. You just had an aha moment? We've not even begun. What's your aha moment? So we're talking about my book, A Radical Awakening. If you have read it, do share it with others. Share your review. This is book club number 16. PJ Sanchez says, thanks for writing the book. Wonderful. I'm happy you enjoyed it. So part of the awakening, which is so hard for people to understand, is that it involves a huge saying no more, a huge release. And this is the brutal part of it. The brutal part of awakening, which no one wants to do, is the radical goodbye. Now, it doesn't have to be cruel, but it is a brutal pruning, shedding, skinning, letting go, a release. And I don't think we factor this in when we think about, oh, I'll just change or I'll just transform. But on a day-to-day basis, there has to be a constant shedding. And you think that in the shedding, you're actually losing, because we've been told that letting go of things is a bad thing. So in the shedding and the pruning, we think we're letting go. We don't realize that in the letting go is the growth. So I talk about how growth is not an additive process. It is a subtractive process. But people don't get that. We don't get that, right? Because it's counterintuitive. Growth should be more. But in the spiritual world, in the emotional, psychological world, growth is the letting go, is the pruning, right? Because what are we letting go? We're letting go all the false ways that we have learned to adapt and survive, right? So the pandemic allowed us for a brutal letting go. The question is whether we understand it and we embrace it and we truly incorporate it. For example, I know all of us in the pandemic, without exception, stopped dressing up. For example, we were okay not even wearing a bra all day. We were okay in our sweatpants, right? I'm in my sweatpants right now underneath and just my exercise t-shirt. We were okay not wearing makeup. I'm talking to you women. So we were okay. So now when we come back, let's examine what can we let go? What can we keep from the pruning? So I'm talking about objects. Objects are relatively easier to let go. But let's talk about relationships, right? In the pandemic, we began to not meet all our friends, the 50,000 that we thought we had. And we survived. So now let's prune away the non-essential nonsense. Now, why is this so important? It's important to do with less because this letting go and entering the less allows for an internal awakening. We cannot go within if we're constantly busy and manically obsessed outside? What can we let go of each day? What can we release each day? Because it is in the letting go that our day becomes emptier, and an empty day is a glorious one. An empty space is a glorious space, because emptiness is the birthing ground for internal reflection. You cannot go inward if you're constantly outward, no? If your eyeballs are constantly distracted and you're constantly occupied on the outside, there is no space for the inward. So letting go is part of the awakening. It is not a failure. It is growth. So who have you let go lately? What have you let go lately? Are markers of growth. And especially relationships that demean you, relationships that dim you, relationships that give you a bloody headache, relationships where you're constantly watching yourself. Now, if at work you're watching yourself, okay, at least you get a paycheck. But at home, you don't need to be watching yourself. In your free time, you don't need to be watching yourself. And it doesn't matter if it's your mother, your partner, your daughter, your neighbor. This is where you enter your power. This is where you say no. Right? Look at your life as a beautiful oak tree that needs constant pruning in order for new blossoms to emerge. If the tree held on to every damn petal, it would never rejuvenate. So, somebody wrote, most people around me, I feel like that about family and fake friends. So this is not about a cruel letting go, but it is about a brutal analysis of what in my life is really an addendum, is an extra, is not essential. And how do I prune my day? How do I align my day so that it is filled with things that most allow me to be me? So part of the awakening involves, yes, it's so difficult to let go. It involves a brutal letting go. Letting go of objects, letting go of excess, letting go of distractions, letting go of toxic relationships. Toxic relationships are the number one. And then that gives you time and energy and space to cultivate the nurturing ones. The nurturing ones are simply easy. So part of the awakening is a brutal confrontation with the naked self, right? It is doing a careful audit. It is doing a brutal audit, looking at yourself in the mirror and going, okay, what is the bullshit I need to end? What is the story I'm telling myself that keeps me stuck? How can I make my life more bare, more simple, more streamlined, more so that I show up? So I'm not all in the noise of it, but I show up, I shine. How can I shine in my life? And the only way we can radiate in our lives is if we've cut out the bullshit. Because if we have too much bullshit, then it drowns our authentic self. Right? So our goal in the awakening is to become more and more naked, which means more and more your true self. How do you let go of the parent you're closest to? Well, why you ask that question in itself is an oxymoron, right? How do you let go of the parent you're closest to? If you were close to them, you won't be asking this question. Obviously, you're only physically close or biologically close, but you're not really emotionally, spiritually close. Because if you're emotionally and spiritually close, you won't feel the need to let go of them, right? So this is what it means to have a brutal analysis of what on earth you're doing with your life, right? But this is a daily audit, and it is a daily shedding and a pruning. And sometimes your parents need to go a little bit far. Your children need to go a little bit far, but when your children become adults, they don't all have to be your regular people like your buddies. You can love them. You can adore them. You can be great parents from far. Once they turn adults, if they're not your vibe, they're not your vibe. It's okay. Forcing relationships is enmeshment, is out of fear. And so many children are enmeshed with their parents, right? How do you let go of a toxic parent? You just lovingly detach. You look at your enabling. You ask yourself, what do I need? Why am I so scared? And you slowly detach. It's not easy. Listen, this is not easy. I'm not making it sound easy. I'm said it's brutal. But to awaken means to own who it is you are. To awaken means to say to yourself, this is my one life. This is my one moment. I could die tomorrow. What am I doing barking up the wrong tree? What am I doing playing a role, being fake? What am I doing? Well, what we're doing really when we're barking up the wrong tree and playing fake is what we're doing is waiting for salvation. We're waiting for the nightmare to end. We're hoping the nightmare will end by somebody else. And we're just hoping that the toxic spouse, the toxic friend, the toxic boss will suddenly just evaporate like we're children and we're just waiting for, the fairies to come out. Passive apathy is the chronic problem. And the other problem that underlies chronic passivity is a delusion, is a system of delusion. We tell ourselves stories. Oh, it's not so bad. Oh, it's because I was so bad. Oh, it will become better. How? We don't know. Or he was just in a bad mood. Or it was just a Tuesday. Or it rained really hard. And we'll make any sort of justification in order to not take action. Because action involves a brutal release of something. And of course, the most profound action is a brutal release of your own bullshit, of your own delusion, right? So the reason we suffer is because we are attached to a particular way of doing something and we are refusing to let go because we're scared of guilt. We're scared of people being upset with us, right? So somebody asked, how do we deal with the guilt of pruning? The only way to deal with the guilt is to really know that you're doing this because you're being authentic. And authenticity, I promise you, spirals other people into authenticity. Your wake up, right? When I woke up, I wrote this book. When I write this book, I help you wake up. You wake up, you help your niece wake up. When niece wakes up, she helps her mother wake up. And the sister comes back to you, right? We are helping each other wake up. So when we dare to wake up and release ourselves from toxic bullshit, we become free. And when we become free, we teach other people to be free. There is no way 10 years ago, if you had told me I'd be living this life, I would have even believed you. I would have said, no way. I would have said, are you crazy? I would have been offended. How dare you tell me I'll be divorced? Who do you think you are? I was so attached. But evolution happens and we must flow and we must move and we must grow. But that meant for me letting go of my 25-year-old marriage, which was devastating and traumatic and shocking. But I couldn't stop the evolution. I couldn't stop the flow. We have one life to live. You have to check in on a daily basis to see if this is your most authentic self. Within the confines, of course, if you have, 3 young children under the age of 2, you may not be able to change your job, leave your job, get a job. Okay. Within the confines, you have to try to find the most authentic you. So I'm always looking for excuses to avoid the awful truth about my marriage. I know it's not easy because who we were when we got married is not who we are now. Who we got married to is not who we are now. Marriage is a test of time. And over time, we evolve. Now what do? Right? At the job, we can say we're leaving the job. The children grow up and they leave. Marriage? What the hell, right? It's difficult. Same with your parents, your biological parents. How do you detach from a toxic parent? So, what we need to understand is that finding our authentic self is a brutal process. You have to decide if it's worth it. You have to decide if this is something for you. So somebody's asking, would I ever get married again? Well, I don't understand. I don't know if I can speak about the future, but as far as I can guarantee you right now, no, because I don't believe in the institution of marriage. I don't need it anymore. I used to need it when I was dependent and young, but I don't need the institution of marriage anymore because I'm married to myself, right? So I've reached a stage in my evolution where I'm fully in union and communion and marriage with myself. I don't need to enter a contractual obligation with anyone else. I'm in contract with myself. And when you get to this place, you will understand that you don't need marriage to be approved of by culture. I don't need a man or a woman to fit into a box, right? I don't need that anymore. I did. When I was younger, I did. It was my idea. I wanted approval. I wanted validation. I wanted to be like everybody else. And now I don't need it. So when you enter your own power and you enter your own liberation and you enter your own knowing, you don't want anyone else to know you. You're not looking for that. You're not looking for it because you begin to have wisdom about your own sense of who you are. And you're not looking for somebody to complete you, validate you, love you, honor you. If it happens, it's amazing, but you're not looking for it. You don't need it. Thank you very much. I'm really good loving myself. And you can have friends and you can date and you can go out and you can have fun, but you don't have to live in a box. So what you need to understand about my conversation today is not about whether you should get married or not. Is whether you know who it is you are, whether you are living your most authentic self, whether you within yourself are clearly aligned with yourself. Do that work. That's what's the missing work. We're all getting married at 25. We don't even know who it is we are. So somebody writes, I'm not just married to my husband, but to his whole family. Yes. So, these are things, and you can love a lot of people and you can love the whole family, but you don't have to be betrothed to them. Nobody owes you anything and you don't owe anyone anything and nobody owns you. So this is the revolutionary aspect of a radical awakening, is growing up and adulting yourself to your own radical ownership, that you own yourself. And no one really wants to do that because that's a lot of work. You have to pay your own bills. You have to grumble to yourself. You have to console yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to praise yourself. Right? So we don't want to do that because we've been so accustomed to having this from the outside. Well, as long as you're tethered to the outside, you will suffer. This book is the pathway to your liberation, I promise you. And I live it. I espouse it. And I live pretty much free and pretty much joyful pretty much all the time, because I understand that the only fountainhead of my fulfillment lies here. And that's what I cultivate every single day. Every single day I cultivate this marriage. I'm most true to myself, most loyal to myself. I don't cheat on myself. And as long as I am pledging allegiance to myself, and as long as I'm not cheating myself, everything on the outside is amazing. Because you're amazing. You're fully okay. And you're not lying to yourself, and you're loyal to yourself. And you're following yourself. So what everybody else is extra. Extra sauce on the side. Optional. I promise you. Now you may think I'm an angry bitch who doesn't like men or doesn't like a relationship or cannot be in a relationship. Not true. Not true at all. Not angry at all. Not resentful at all. Fully enveloped in my worth. So this is what I want to help other women get to. This is what this book is about, is to help you women enter your own inner power, to truly understand how society has played you, and there's a way to get your power back. That's what this book is about, Vanessa Torres. She's asking, what is the book about? So, this is a gift, as I always say, to women to wake up their soul, to understand who it is they are, to develop their most ultimate relationship with themselves. And you can awaken no matter who is around. You can be in a solitary confinement in a prison and wake up. So there is no excuse. This is the point of the journey, is to wake up and to fall in deep love with yourself. Right? This is what this book is about. It's like to fall in deep love with yourself. Like, this is what you owe yourself. The deepest love. Where can it be purchased? This book can be purchased everywhere books are sold. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Grab the book. Here we go. Radical Awakening. If you really want to understand how important it is to live your powerful self, this book gives you permission. It opens the door and it paves the way. So I hope you can capitalize on it and truly understand you have one life, one day. Right now, you have one life, one day, one moment. Enter it. Start the process. Who am I right now? Am I being me right now? Can I follow my own intuition, my own knowing? Can I fully honor who it is I am? See you at the next book club. Bye, guys.